The alarms screamed through every corridor of the archive station. In 3,000 years of operation, orbiting the ancient neutron star in the heart of architect space, nothing had ever appeared without warning. Until now, Captain Hannah Park felt her stomach settle as the terrible shaking finally stopped. Her hands were still gripping the controls of her ship, the Wanderer, so tight that her knuckles had turned white. Through the viewport, she could see something that made her breath catch. A massive structure, larger than anything Earth had ever built, hung in the darkness of space. It was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. All crystalline spires and flowing energy patterns that seemed to dance across its surface. "Tejo," she whispered, then remembered. Her co-pilot was gone. The jump had taken him. She pushed the grief down, locked it away, in a place she would deal with later. Right now, she needed to focus on staying alive. Her ship's computer was going crazy with warnings and error messages. The chronometer display flickered between numbers that made no sense. It had read 2,289 when they started the jump. Now it showed 2,847, 558 years. She had traveled forward in time by more than 5 centuries. Outside her viewport, smaller ships were appearing. They moved in ways that defied physics as she understood it, flowing through space like water rather than metal. They surrounded the Wanderer in a perfect sphere formation. Hannah knew a containment pattern when she saw one. A voice filled her cabin. It did not come through her radio. It simply appeared in the air around her, speaking in perfect English with no accent at all. "Unknown vessel. You have violated temporal protocols. Power down your systems immediately." Hannah laughed. She could not help it. The sound was sharp and a little wild. "Temporal protocols?" she said to the empty air. "We only figured out how to do this 3 months ago. Nobody told us there were protocols." The silence that followed was longer than she expected. She could imagine the confusion on the other end. Finally, the voice returned. "Your vessel's technology readings indicate late 23rd century human construction. This is impossible. Time travel is a theoretical impossibility." "Yeah," Hannah said, looking at the photo of Tejo attached to her control panel. The ships outside began to glow with a soft blue light. Hannah felt a strange sensation wash over her, like being looked at by a million eyes all at once. Her skin prickled with the intensity of whatever scan they were running. The Wanderer's primitive defenses tried to activate but failed. She was completely exposed to whatever these beings wanted to know about her. Minutes passed. Then the voice returned, and this time, Hannah could hear something new in it. Uncertainty. Maybe even fear. "You will be brought aboard the archive station. Any resistance will result in immediate neutralization." Hannah checked her fuel reserves. Nearly empty. Her life support was damaged from the jump. Her weapons had never been much to begin with, just mining lasers repurposed for defense. She had no cards to play except honesty. "Understood. I am powering down weapons systems. For what it is worth, I come in peace." The blue light intensified, and the Wanderer began to move without her touching the controls. Some kind of tractor beam, far more advanced than anything Earth had developed. Her ship drifted toward an opening in the massive station's side, a bay that could have held 100 vessels her size. As they pulled her inside, Hannah got her first look at the beings who had found her. They stood in the landing bay behind some kind of transparent barrier, watching her ship with what she could only describe as scientific fascination mixed with fear. They were not like anything she had imagined aliens would be. Some were tall and crystalline, their bodies catching the light and breaking it into rainbow patterns. Others seemed to be made of pure energy, held in vaguely humanoid shapes by technology she could not begin to understand. A few appeared almost robotic, but moved with such grace that she knew they had to be organic in some way. This was the archive, she realized. This was the great collection of knowledge that humanity had only theorized existed. The barrier dissolved, and a figure approached her ship. This one was crystalline, standing perhaps 7 feet tall, with what might have been a face or might have been a sensory cluster. It was impossible to tell. When it spoke, its voice was the same one that had filled her cabin earlier. I am Velthon, keeper of the archive. You will exit your vessel slowly. You will carry no weapons. You will submit to restraint and questioning. Hana unsealed the Wanderer's hatch. The air that rushed in was perfectly breathable, exactly Earth-normal composition. They had done their homework fast. She climbed down the ladder, her legs shaking from the adrenaline, finally leaving her system. She had been running on pure determination for the last hour. Now, standing on solid ground for the first time since the jump, she felt the weight of what she had done. When her boots touched the deck, she straightened up and faced Velthon. The being was even more impressive up close. Patterns of light moved beneath its crystalline surface like thoughts made visible. Captain Hana Park, she said. Earth Space Agency. Temporal Research Division. I apologize for the dramatic entrance. We are still working out the navigation issues. More beings were gathering now, keeping their distance but watching with what Hana recognized as the universal expression of scientists seeing something that should not exist. She knew that look. She had worn it herself when Jiho's equations had first worked. Navigation issues, Velthon repeated. And somehow, the crystalline being managed to make those 2 words sound like an accusation. You have achieved temporal displacement. You have broken through barriers that civilizations millions of years older than yours have never crossed. And you describe this as navigation issues. Well, Hana said, allowing herself a small smile. We crashed through those barriers more than we broke through them. If it helps, the ship that made the jump with me did not survive. Neither did my co-pilot. We paid a price for this. Something changed in the way Velthon stood. A subtle shift that Hana's instincts read as surprise. You lost crew in the process? You knew this was a possibility? And proceeded anyway? We knew it was a probability, Hana corrected. 78% mortality rate in our simulations. Teho and I both volunteered. He understood the risks. So did I. A new voice spoke up from the crowd of observers. This one belonged to an energy being that pulsed with different colors as it communicated. Unacceptable casualty rates. Illogical procedure. This vessel should have never been cleared for such a mission. Hana turned to face the new speaker. You are right. By any logical standard, we should have waited, spent more years researching, run more simulations, made it safer. She paused, meeting what she thought might be the being's eyes. But while we waited, people were dying. Our colony on Proxima needed medical supplies we could not deliver in time through normal space. Teho's sister was one of those people. So we stopped waiting for perfect and settled for possible. The silence that followed was absolute. Hana could see the beings looking at each other, communicating in ways she could not perceive. Finally, a massive screen activated on the wall behind Velthon. Text began scrolling across it in hundreds of languages. At the top, in English, she read her new designation. Temporal Anomaly. Omega-level threat. Origin. Human. Earth. Recommended. Action. Immediate containment. And study. Hana read it twice. Then she looked at Velthon and the assembled beings of the archive. Her smile grew wider, carrying all the defiance and pride that had driven humanity to reach for the stars in the first place. Your archive labeled me Temporal Anomaly, she said clearly. I prefer Pioneer. The detention cell was comfortable, Hana had to admit. The archive beings had provided her with a bed that adjusted to her body, food that was nutritionally perfect if a bit bland, and even entertainment files to study while they decided what to do with her. But it was still a cell. The walls were transparent on one side, allowing her guards to watch her constantly. She wondered if they expected her to suddenly vanish back through time. 3 days had passed since her arrival. 3 days of medical scans, equipment analysis, and endless questions that she answered as honestly as she could. Now, They wanted the full story. Velthon had arrived at her cell with two other beings. One was Kiramis, the energy creature who had called her mission illogical. The other introduced itself as archive scientist Kelvan, a being that looked like it was made of liquid metal held in a humanoid shape. "We have analyzed your vessel completely," Velthon said without preamble. "Your technology is primitive by our standards. Fusion reactors that we abandoned 12,000 years ago. Artificial intelligence that operates on binary logic. Hull plating made from simple titanium alloys. Yet somehow, you achieved what we cannot." Hana sat on her bed, looking at the three beings. "Do you want the technical explanation? Or the truth?" Kiramis pulsed with an angry red color. "Not really," Hana said. "The technical explanation is about equations and quantum field manipulation and neural interface synchronization. Dr. Jiho Kang could give you all of that, and you would understand maybe 10% more than you do now." Kelvan's liquid metal form rippled with what might have been interest. "Explain cheating." Hana stood and walked to the transparent wall of her cell. Beyond it, she could see the archive's vast collection of knowledge stored in crystal matrices that stretched into the distance. "How long have the civilizations of this galaxy been trying to achieve time travel?" 4.2 million years, Velthon answered. "Since the progenitors first proposed the theoretical framework. Thousands of civilizations have attempted it. All have failed. Because you were trying to solve it?" Hana said. "You were trying to create the perfect equation. The perfect mathematical model that would let you move through time with complete control and complete safety. Right?" Obviously," Kiramis said. "Any other approach would be reckless." Hana laughed. But there was no humor in it. "Let me tell you about Jiho Kang. He was the smartest person I ever met. He spent 20 years trying to solve temporal displacement the right way. He built models, ran simulations, and got nowhere. Every equation that seemed to work would fall apart when he stressed it. Every pathway through time that looked stable would collapse when he mapped it fully." She turned back to face her observers. "Then his daughter got sick. Really sick. The kind of sick where doctors tell you to say goodbye. And Jiho realized something. He was never going to solve time travel. None of us were. It was too complex. Too chaotic. There were too many variables that could not be calculated. So he gave up?" Kelvan asked. "No," Hana said. He changed the question. Instead of asking how to calculate the perfect path through time, he asked how to survive an imperfect one. He stopped trying to control time travel and started trying to navigate it. Velthon's crystalline form seemed to darken. "Explain the difference." Quote, Hana walked back to her bed and pulled out a small datapad the archive had given her. She called up a simple drawing program and sketched quickly. "Your civilizations see time like this, right? A river with currents you can map and predict. You tried to build a boat that could navigate that river perfectly, never getting caught by unexpected currents." "A crude but accurate metaphor," Velthon said. Jiho saw it differently, Hana continued, adding to her sketch. "He saw time as an ocean during a storm. Chaotic, violent, and impossible to fully map. So instead of building a perfect boat, he built something that could adapt to whatever the storm threw at it. The human neural component." Kelvan said suddenly. "We detected biological matter integrated into your ship's navigation systems. We thought it was contamination." "Wud. That was Teho," Hana said quietly. "Part of him, anyway. The human brain can do something your computers cannot. We can perceive quantum states intuitively. We can make decisions based on incomplete information. We can feel which path through time feels right, even if we cannot explain why." Kiramis pulsed with a color Hana had not seen before, something between purple and black. "You used organic consciousness as a computational element. This is barbaric. It kept me alive," Hana said. "During the jump, the ship's computer fed me sensor data faster than I could consciously process. My brain was directly connected to the temporal drives. Every time the equations started to collapse, every time we hit a paradox or a causality loop, I felt it. And I adjusted. I trusted my instincts over the calculations. Impossible, Velthon said. Consciousness cannot process quantum mechanical data. It is too complex. Cannot or never tried, Hana challenged. Have any of your civilizations attempted organic machine integration for temporal navigation? The silence told her everything she needed to know. Jiho's theory was simple, Hana continued. Evolution shaped human brains to make split-second decisions with incomplete data. Our ancestors had to decide if that shadow was a predator or just wind. And they had to decide fast. Wrong decisions meant death. Right decisions meant survival. After millions of years, our brains got very good at quantum guessing. The mortality rate, Kelvan said slowly, 78%. The organic component fails. The organic component burns out, Hana corrected. The human mind was not designed to perceive time like that. The stress is incredible. Tejo lasted 42 minutes into the jump before his brain could not take any more. I lasted the full 93 minutes, but just barely. When I arrived here, I was bleeding from my eyes and ears. Your medical scanners probably found the damage. Extensive neural trauma, Velthon confirmed. It was from keeping myself alive during the temporal transition, Hana said. Every second, I was making thousands of micro-adjustments to our path through time. Every second, I was burning out brain cells that will never regenerate. I probably lost 10 years of my life in that jump. Maybe more. Kiramis moved closer to the transparent barrier. And you call yourselves pioneers? You are dying for a technology you cannot control. Hana met the energy being's gaze, or what she thought was its gaze. My people have a saying. You cannot discover new oceans unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. Tejo lost his life helping me make that jump. But because he did, because we did, humanity now knows time travel is possible. The next team will learn from our mistakes. They will improve the process. Maybe they will get the mortality rate down to 50%. Then 25. Then 10. And eventually, one day, someone will make the jump and survive it easily. Unacceptable losses, Kiramis insisted. To you, Hana said. Not to us. Tejo's sister received the medical supplies. She lived. The Proxima colony survived. And I am here, 500 years in the future, talking to species that my people only dreamed existed. Tejo died, yes, but his death meant something. His death moved humanity forward. Velthon turned to the others. They communicated in ways Hana could not perceive, lights and energy patterns, and perhaps quantum entanglement, for all she knew. Finally, Velthon turned back to her. We have analyzed every aspect of your achievement, the being said. We have found no evidence of advanced technology. No evidence of outside assistance. No evidence of anything except human determination and human sacrifice. The archive has witnessed 10,000 civilizations rise and fall across 4 million years. We have seen species that could manipulate matter with thought, species that could cross galaxies in heartbeats, species that could create artificial universes. Velthon paused, and Hana sensed something like wonder in the being's voice. But we have never seen a species that looked at impossible odds, calculated a 78% chance of death, and said yes, anyway. You frighten us, Captain Park, not because of what you have achieved, but because of what you might achieve if you continue this path. Hana smiled sadly. Good. A little fear means respect. And respect means maybe you will talk to us instead of just studying us like specimens. The council is meeting now to decide your fate, Kelvan said. Some argue for your immediate termination. Others argue for permanent containment. A few suggest sending you back to your own time. Though we do not know if such a thing is possible. And what do you think? Hana asked. The three beings looked at each other. Then Velthon spoke for all of them. We think humanity has just become the galaxy's most dangerous variable. The Archive Council Chamber was a place where decisions affecting trillions of lives had been made for 3 millennia. Representatives from 47 different species stood or floated or existed in their own unique ways around a circular platform. At the center, projected in perfect holographic detail, was everything the archive knew about humanity. It was not very much. And that terrified them. Velthon stood before the council, presenting the findings. The human, known as Hana Park, achieved temporal displacement through methods that violate our understanding of safe scientific practice. Her species has demonstrated a willingness to accept catastrophic losses in pursuit of advancement. A being made of what looked like living stone spoke up. Its voice rumbled like an earthquake. How many humans died to achieve this breakthrough? By the human's own admission, 78% of test subjects did not survive the process, Velthon answered. This includes trained pilots, scientists, and volunteers who knew the risks. The human park lost her co-navigator during the successful jump that brought her here. Shocked silence filled the chamber. Finally, Kira Mies pulsed forward, its energy form crackling with agitation. This is madness. We must terminate the human immediately and destroy all record of her achievement. If humanity continues this path, they will tear holes in causality itself. Agreed, said another council member. A being that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. One human has already contaminated our timeline. We cannot allow this infection to spread, but Kelvan raised what might have been a hand. I disagree. The human represents a unique opportunity. Her species has achieved something we thought impossible. Should we not study this achievement? Learn from it? Learn what? Kira Mies demanded. Learn how to kill ourselves pursuing reckless science? The architects did not become the dominant force in this galaxy by throwing lives away on impossible dreams. Velthon noticed a small figure near the back of the chamber. Salmon, a young archive technician, barely old enough to have earned her position. She was a hybrid, part organic architect and part machine, representing the newest generation of their species. She looked troubled. Technician Salmon, Velthon called out. You have been studying the human's vessel. What have you learned? Salmon moved forward nervously. She was small for an architect, her crystalline structure still developing. I have analyzed the Wanderer's construction in detail. The ship is crude by our standards, yes. But it is also elegant, in ways I did not expect. Explain, the stone being rumbled. The human vessel uses adaptive systems, Salmon said, her voice gaining confidence. When one component fails, others compensate automatically. The design assumes failure will happen and plans for it. Our vessels are built to never fail. Theirs are built to keep functioning even after failure begins. A primitive approach, Kira Mies dismissed. Perhaps, Salmon said. But their primitive approach got a human here from 500 years in the past. Our advanced approach has never accomplished temporal displacement at all. Murmurs ran through the council. Velthon felt something shift in the chamber's mood. Fear was still present, but now it was mixed with something else. Curiosity, and perhaps a touch of shame. Another council member spoke. This one, a being of pure thought, contained in a crystalline matrix. I have reviewed the human's historical data. The archive contains limited information about Earth and its people, but what we have is disturbing. This species has survived multiple near-extinction events. They have fought wars that killed millions of their own kind. They have poisoned their own world and then fought to save it. They are violent, irrational, and statistically should have destroyed themselves centuries ago. Yet they did not, Kelvan observed. No, the thought being agreed. They adapted. Every time they faced extinction, they found a way to survive. Every time they encountered an impossible problem, they found an imperfect solution. They do not wait for optimal conditions. They act with whatever they have available. 1. Velthon pulled up new data. I have been analyzing human history more deeply. Their first ventures into space used chemical rockets that had a significant failure rate. Their early astronauts had a phrase: "All astronauts are test pilots." They knew they might die. They went anyway. Their colony ships to other stars, Soman added, pulling up more files. Generation ships that would take centuries to reach their destinations. The people who boarded those ships knew they would never see the destination. Their children would not see it. Perhaps not even their grandchildren. Yet thousands volunteered. The council chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. These were not beings who thought in terms of single lifetimes or guaranteed success. These were beings who thought in terms of species survival and acceptable sacrifice. A new voice entered the discussion. It came from Nexus 7, the Archive's central artificial intelligence. The AI rarely spoke directly to the council, preferring to work through intermediaries. When it did speak, everyone listened. "I have completed a probability analysis," Nexus 7 said, its voice emotionless and precise. "If humanity continues on its current trajectory, there is a 92% probability that they will achieve stable temporal travel within 100 years. There is a 78% probability that they will attempt to share this technology with other species. There is a 63% probability that this will create timeline fractures that could destabilize galactic civilization. Then we must stop them," Kiramis said triumphantly. "The numbers prove it." "The numbers prove nothing," Velthon said quietly. Nexus 7. What is the probability that we can actually stop humanity from pursuing temporal research? The AI was silent for a long moment. Insufficient data to calculate accurately. However, based on human behavioral patterns, any attempt to suppress their research will likely accelerate it. Humans have a documented tendency to pursue forbidden knowledge more aggressively. They call it the Streisand effect. Velthon felt something close to despair. They were dealing with a species that reacted to obstacles by attacking them harder. A species that saw impossibility as a challenge rather than a limitation. A species that had just proven they would literally die to achieve their goals. "There is another concern," Kelvan said slowly. "The human mentioned that her ship transmitted data before we captured it. If that transmission reached Earth in her time, then humanity already knows that time travel is possible. They know she succeeded. We cannot put that knowledge back in the box. The stone being shifted its massive form. Are you suggesting we negotiate with a species barely out of its own solar system? A species that cannot even be trusted not to kill themselves in their experiments? I am suggesting that we have no choice," Kelvan said. "The human is here. Her knowledge exists. Her species will pursue this technology with or without our approval. Our only decision is whether we want to guide that pursuit or oppose it." Salmon spoke up again, and Velthon noticed that the young technician had moved closer to the holographic display of Hana. "I spoke with the human during her processing. She asked me about the archive, about our history, about how we became who we are." "Your point?" Kiramis asked impatiently. "My point is that she reminded me of the stories about our own ancestors," Salmon said. "Before we became the architects, before we built the archive, we were explorers too. We took risks. We made mistakes. We lost people pursuing dreams that seemed impossible. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that. We became so focused on preserving knowledge that we stopped creating it." Velthon felt those words like a physical blow. When was the last time the architects had truly innovated? When was the last time they had attempted something with an uncertain outcome? They had become curators of the galaxy, not pioneers of it. "The human calls herself a pioneer," Velthon said. "She rejects the label of anomaly. Perhaps she is showing us what we have lost. The courage to fail. The willingness to sacrifice. The ability to look at terrible odds and try anyway." "Poetic," Kiramis said coldly. "But poetry does not change the danger this species represents." "No," Velthon agreed. "The danger is real. Humanity is dangerous. But perhaps dangerous is exactly what the galaxy needs. We have been stable for so long that we have stagnated. The last major innovation was 6,000 years ago. Since then, we have perfected what we know, but discovered nothing truly new. The council erupted into debate. Some agreed with Velthon. Others argued for Hana's immediate termination. A few suggested simply sending her ship back into space and letting her leave, washing their hands of the problem. But Velthon knew the truth. Whether they killed her, freed her, or kept her prisoner, the change had already begun. Humanity had knocked on the door of the galactic community by traveling through time itself. And that door, once opened, could never be fully closed again. "We need more time," the stone being finally said. "Agreed," said several other council members. Velthon looked at Salman, who was still studying the holographic display of Hana with what looked like admiration. The young technician represented the future of the architect species, and she was fascinated by these reckless, dangerous, impossible humans. Perhaps that was the real danger. Not that humanity would destroy the galaxy through their recklessness, but that they would inspire others to be reckless too. That their willingness to take risks would spread like a virus through civilizations that had long ago chosen safety over discovery. Velthon made a decision. "I will speak with the human again. Perhaps we can find a solution that does not require her death or the suppression of her species' ambitions. And if no such solution exists?" "Kira," Mies challenged. Velthon looked at the energy being directly. "Then, we will have learned that humanity cannot be controlled, and we will need to decide if we want them as enemies or allies." Hana was exercising when Salman arrived at her cell. Push-ups, sit-ups, anything to keep her body from deteriorating while she waited for the Archive Council to decide if she would live or die. She had been imprisoned for 8 days now, though she still thought of it as comfortable imprisonment. "You maintain physical fitness even in captivity," Salman observed through the transparent barrier. "Is this a military discipline?" Hana stood up, wiping sweat from her forehead. "It is a human discipline. Our bodies are designed to move. If we stop moving, we start dying. Even if it is just a little bit each day." Salman's crystalline form shifted colors, something Hana had learned meant the young architect was thinking. "The council has been debating your fate for days. They cannot agree." What are the current options?" Hana asked. "Death, permanent imprisonment, or something else?" "Those are 2 of the options," Salman confirmed. "The third is to attempt to send you back to your own time, though we do not know if such a thing is possible. You came forward. Reversing that process might create paradoxes." Hana sat down on her bed. "What do you think they should do?" Salman was quiet for a long moment. Then the young architect did something unexpected. She deactivated the barrier between them and stepped into the cell. It was a violation of protocol. Hana knew. But Salman did it anyway. "I think they are asking the wrong question," Salman said. "They are asking what to do with you. They should be asking what humanity will do next." "Smart," Hana said. "You understand that I am not the problem. I am just the first." "Exactly," Salman said, sitting down next to Hana on the bed. The young architect moved stiffly, as if sitting was not a natural position for her species. "If we kill you, another human will eventually achieve what you achieved. If we imprison you, your species will come looking for you. If we send you back, you will only tell them that the future is possible to reach." "So what should they do?" Hana asked. "Talk to you," Salman said. "Really talk to you. Not interrogate. Not study. Actually, communicate. Find out what humanity wants from the galaxy." Hana laughed. "We want everything. We want to explore, to learn, to meet other species, to see things humans have never seen before. We want all of it. Even if it kills you, especially if it might kill us," Hana said. "Safety is important." "Yes. But safety without purpose is just slow dying." My people would rather burn bright and short than fade slowly into nothing. Samen's colors shifted again. Cycling through patterns Hana could not interpret. The Council fears that mindset. They have built a civilization that has lasted millions of years by being careful. Humans have existed for what, 200,000 years? And you nearly destroyed yourselves multiple times. True, Hana acknowledged. But we are still here. And we are getting better at not destroying ourselves. Give us another few thousand years, and we might even be responsible. Before Samen could respond, Velthon appeared in the corridor outside the cell. The senior architect looked at Samen sitting next to Hana and the deactivated barrier. For a moment, Hana thought the young technician would be in serious trouble. But Velthon simply entered the cell as well. Technician Samen, you are dismissed, Velthon said. What we are about to discuss is classified at the highest level. Samen stood quickly, her colors showing what Hana interpreted as embarrassment. But as the young architect left, she looked back at Hana with what might have been encouragement. Velthon waited until they were completely alone before speaking. The Council has reached a preliminary decision. You are to be neutralized in 48 hours. Hana felt her stomach drop, but kept her face neutral. Neutralized. That is a polite word for killed. Yes, Velthon said simply. I argued against this decision. Others argued for it. I lost the debate. Why are you telling me this? Hana asked. Why give me advance warning? Because despite what the Council believes, I do not think killing you will solve anything, Velthon said. And because you deserve to know. You came here as a pioneer, not an invader. You deserve to face your death with dignity. Hana stood and paced the small cell. Her mind was racing. 48 hours. 2 days. To live. Unless she could change the situation somehow. What would it take to change the Council's mind? Nothing you can offer, Velthon said. We have analyzed your technology. We understand how you achieved temporal displacement. Killing you and destroying your ship removes the immediate threat. Does it though? Hana asked. She turned to face the architect. Before you captured me, I transmitted everything. Every piece of data the Wanderer collected during the jump, every reading, every measurement, every neural pattern from my brain during the navigation. Velthon's crystalline form seemed to freeze. You did what? I am not stupid, Hana said. I knew I might not survive contact with whoever I found in the future. So I sent everything back home, on a delayed transmission, time-coded, to arrive 3 days after I made the jump. Impossible, Velthon said. We would have detected such a transmission. Hana smiled. Would you? You were scanning for weapons, for shields, for propulsion signatures. Were you scanning for a simple radio transmission on human frequencies? A transmission that would take 558 years to reach its destination? Velthon was silent. Hana could practically see the architect running calculations. Finally, the being spoke. If you transmitted that data, then Earth in your time period has already received it. They know you succeeded. By now, my transmission arrived about 5 days ago in my present, Hana said. 5 days for Earth's best scientists to analyze everything. 5 days to understand that time travel is possible. 5 days to start planning their own jumps. You have doomed your species, Velthon said. They will kill themselves attempting to replicate your success. Maybe, Hana agreed. Probably some will die, yes. But others will succeed. And each success will teach us more. Each death will make the next attempt safer. That is how humans work. I have the Tepidi one. We stumble forward through failure until we figure out success. Velthon moved closer to her. Why are you telling me this now? This information makes you more dangerous, not less. The Council would move your neutralization up immediately if they knew. Because I want to make a deal, Hana said. She had been thinking about this moment for days. Planning it, Preparing for it. I want to go back to my own time. We do not know if that is possible. But you can try, Hana said. Send me back, with everything I learned here. Let me take knowledge of the archive, of the galactic community, of the thousands of species that exist beyond Earth's small corner of space. Give me that, and I will work to make sure humanity develops responsibly. I will be the bridge between my species and yours. And if we refuse? Velthon asked. Then you kill me? Yes, Hana said. But my data is already home. My species already knows what I accomplished. And without any guidance from you, without any knowledge of galactic civilization, they will develop temporal technology in whatever reckless way seems fastest. They will show up here again. And next time it might not be a single scout ship. It might be a fleet. Velthon was silent for a long time. Hana could not read the architect's expressions, but she sensed that she had hit a nerve. You are blackmailing us, Velthon finally said. I am negotiating, Hana corrected. There is a difference. Blackmail implies, I am threatening you with something I want to do. I do not want humanity to develop recklessly. I do not want us to become a danger to ourselves or others. But without guidance, without knowledge of what exists out here, that is exactly what will happen. You know it. I know it. The question is whether you want to help shape that development or just watch it happen from a distance. The Council will never agree to this, Velthon said. Then convince them, Hana said. Or let me talk to them. Let me make my case. What do you have to lose? I am already scheduled for neutralization. Give me one chance to present an alternative. Velthon stood motionless for so long that Hana began to think she had pushed too far. Then the architect turned and walked toward the cell door. Hana felt her heart sink. She had gambled and lost. But at the threshold, Velthon paused. You remind me of someone, the architect said quietly. 10,000 years ago, when my species was young, we had pioneers too. Architects who pushed boundaries, who took risks, who died in pursuit of dreams. The being turned back to face her. We have not had anyone like that in a very long time. I had forgotten what it looked like. Number 4. Number 4. What happened to them? Hana asked. Your pioneers? They built the foundation of everything we are today, Velthon said. Then we decided their methods were too dangerous. We chose stability over exploration, safety over discovery. And we have been slowly stagnating ever since. Velthon reactivated the barrier, sealing Hana back into her cell. But before leaving, the architect spoke one more time. I will present your proposal to the Council. I cannot promise they will listen. But I will try. Hana watched Velthon leave. 48 hours. 2 days to live or 2 days to change the future of human-alien relations. She had made her gambit. Farn Velthon. She had made her gambit. Now all she could do was wait to see if it would pay off. She sat back down on her bed and looked at the photo of Teho she had managed to salvage from the Wanderer. I hope I am doing the right thing, she whispered to the image. I hope this is what you would have wanted. The photo, of course, did not answer. But in her mind, she could hear Teho's voice from their last conversation before the jump. Whatever happens, make it count. Make sure my death means something. Hana closed her eyes and made a promise to her lost friend. Whatever happened in the next 48 hours, she would make it count. The Archive Council chamber was more crowded than Hana had expected. Word had spread that the human temporal anomaly would be addressing the assembly. Representatives from dozens of species had arrived to witness what many assumed would be her final statement before neutralization. Hana stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by beings that represented millions of years of accumulated knowledge and power. She was wearing her flight suit, cleaned and repaired by archive technicians. If this was to be her last moment, she would face it as what she was. A human pilot who had dared to touch the impossible. Velthon stood beside her, having agreed to present her proposal formally. The senior architect's crystalline form was dim, a sign of stress that Hana had learned to recognize. Council members, Velthon began. The human has requested an opportunity to address you before the scheduled neutralization. I have granted this request. 1. Kira Mies pulsed with angry colors. This is irregular. The decision has been made. The decision can be unmade, Velthon said calmly. We are not savages who refuse to listen before executing sentence. Let the humans speak. R. Velthon. Velthon. All attention turned to Hana. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. Everything she said in the next few minutes would determine not just her fate but possibly the fate of humanity's relationship with the galaxy. Thank you, she said, her voice clear and steady. I know what you think of my species. We are young, reckless, violent. We do things that seem insane by your standards. We accept casualties that you find horrifying. We pursue knowledge without waiting for permission or perfect safety. She paused, looking around at the assembled beings. You are right about all of that. We are all of those things. But we are also survivors, innovators, adapters. We are a species that looks at impossible problems and refuses to accept defeat. This is not news, said the stone being. We have reviewed your species' history. Your recklessness is documented. Yes, Hana agreed. But here is what you have not considered. That recklessness brought me here. 558 years into my future. I am standing in a space station that represents the pinnacle of galactic civilization. And I got here in a ship built with what you call primitive technology. She let that sink in for a moment. You have had millions of years to achieve temporal travel. Civilizations far older and more advanced than humanity have tried and failed. But we did it, not because we were smarter or better, but because we were willing to try, even when success seemed impossible. Kelvan shifted forward. You have already told us this. What is your point? My point is that you need us, Hana said. The chamber erupted in shocked noises and protests. She raised her voice to be heard over the commotion. I have spent 8 days studying what information you allowed me to access. The archive is vast and impressive. But when was the last time something truly new was added to it? When was the last time any of your species made a real breakthrough? The silence that followed was telling. You have perfected what you know, Hana continued. But you have stopped discovering. You have become so focused on safety and stability that you have forgotten how to innovate. You need species like humanity. Species that are still foolish enough to try impossible things. Kira Mies pulsed forward aggressively. We do not need species that will destroy causality through their experiments. Perhaps not, Hana said. But you do need species that will push boundaries. That will ask questions you stopped asking thousands of years ago. That will make mistakes you can learn from. Velthon spoke up. The human has made a proposal. Before we continue this debate, she should present it fully. Hana nodded gratefully to the architect. My proposal is simple. Send me back to my own time, with limited knowledge from the archive. Not enough to disrupt the timeline catastrophically, but enough to guide humanity's development. I will work to ensure my species develops responsibly, that we become contributors to galactic civilization, rather than a threat to it. And in return, asked the being made of living stone, in return, humanity becomes your partner in exploration and innovation, Hana said. We bring the recklessness you have lost. You bring the wisdom we have not yet gained. Together, we can achieve things neither of us could accomplish alone. This is insane, Kira Mies said. You are asking us to weaponize a dangerous species by giving them advanced knowledge. I am asking you to guide a dangerous species before they stumble into that knowledge on their own, Hana corrected. Because they will stumble into it. With or without your help. The question is, whether you want humanity to have context for what they discover. or whether you want us blundering around in the dark. No-ness. Nexus 7's voice filled the chamber. Analysis update. Based on the human's revealed transmission of data to her time period, there is now a 98% probability that Earth will achieve temporal technology within 20 years. Multiple jump attempts are likely within 30 years. Conservative estimates suggest at least 15 to 40 human deaths during this development period. The council chamber fell silent. Those were staggering numbers. 15 to 40 lives sacrificed in pursuit of a single technology. Salmon spoke up from her position at the edge of the chamber. If we guide them, could we reduce those casualties? Possibly, Nexus 7 answered. If provided with archived knowledge of temporal mechanics theory and safety protocols, human casualties could be reduced by approximately 60%. Estimated deaths would decrease to 6 to 15 individuals. Still too many, Kiramis protested. But better than the alternative, Velthon said. Nexus 7. What happens if we kill the human and refuse all contact with her species? Humanity will pursue temporal technology independently, the AI responded. Without guidance, development will be slower and more dangerous. Conservative estimates suggest 50 to 80 deaths over a 40-year development period. There is also a 15% probability that humanity will view the archive as hostile and develop weapons specifically designed to counter architect technology. That probability sent a wave of shock through the council. The idea that a species barely capable of temporal travel might develop weapons against the galaxy's most advanced civilization seemed absurd. But it was non-zero, and that was enough to be concerning. Kelvan moved to the center of the chamber, joining Hana and Velthon. I have been analyzing the human's vessel in detail. Her statement about adaptive systems was accurate. The ship continues to function despite damage that would have disabled any architect vessel. This ability to continue operating through failure is remarkable. It is inefficient, Kiramis argued. It is survivable, Kelvan countered. And survival is the ultimate efficiency. I propose we accept the human's offer on a trial basis. Send her back with limited information. Monitor the results. If humanity proves responsible, we increase contact. If they prove dangerous, we have time to prepare appropriate responses. The debate continued for hours. Hana stood at the center, listening as beings argued about her species' fate. Some saw potential. Others saw only danger. A few seemed genuinely curious about what humanity might achieve. Finally, Velthon called for a formal vote. The chamber fell silent as each council member registered their decision. Hana watched the display, seeing votes accumulate on both sides. It was close, terrifyingly close. The final tally appeared. 18 votes for neutralization, 23 votes for the trial arrangement, 6 abstentions. Hana felt her knees weaken with relief. She had won. Barely, but she had won. The council has spoken, Velthon announced. The human will be returned to her own time with limited archive knowledge. Technician Salmon will be assigned as liaison and observer. Salmon stepped forward, her crystalline form brightening with what Hana recognized as excitement. I volunteer to accompany the human on her return journey. The council erupted again. Impossible! Kiramis shouted. You cannot send an architect back through time. Why not? Salmon challenged. If the human can survive the journey, why can't I? Someone needs to verify that the timeline remains stable. Someone needs to guide humanity's development from within. I am volunteering. Velthon looked at the young technician for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, the senior architect's form brightened. Your courage honors our ancestors. Permission granted. Over the next 36 hours, Hana prepared for the return journey. The Wanderer was repaired and upgraded with archive technology carefully selected to assist with temporal navigation without fundamentally changing human capability. Salmon uploaded herself into a specialized containment unit that would protect her consciousness during the jump. Dr. Jiho Kang's data on temporal mechanics was compared with archive knowledge. The survival probability for the return jump was calculated at 34%. Better than the original jump, but still terrifying odds. Hana sat in the Wanderer's pilot seat, running through pre-flight checks. Salmon's consciousness was now integrated into the ship's systems, able to communicate but also able to assist with navigation in ways Teho never could have. "Are you ready?" Velthon asked through the communications channel. "No," Hana said honestly. "But I am going anyway. That is kind of humanity's specialty." "Before you go," Velthon said, "I wanted you to know something. I reviewed the archive's historical records more thoroughly. 10,000 years ago, my species had individuals like you, risk-takers, pioneers. We called them the Pathfinders. They were the ones who first left our homeworld, who first contacted other species, who first built the foundations of the archive. What happened to them?" Hana asked. "They died, mostly," Velthon said, "pursuing their dangerous dreams. And we mourned them. But we also honored them. They made us who we are. Somewhere along the way, we forgot that progress requires sacrifice." Hana felt tears in her eyes. "Thank you." "Thank you. No," Velthon said. "Thank you. You are changing the galaxy just by existing in it. That is remarkable." The final countdown began. Hana gripped the controls, feeling Salmon's presence in the ship's systems. Together, they would attempt the impossible again. "Temporal drive charging," Salmon reported. "Neural interface connecting." "Hana, I am detecting your brain patterns. Are you ready to navigate?" "Ready as I will ever be," Hana said. The Wanderer's engines built to a crescendo. Reality began to bend around the small ship. Through the viewport, Hana could see the archive station for the last time. Its crystalline spires beautiful against the darkness of space. Then the universe folded, and she was falling through time itself. The journey back was different from the journey forward. With Salmon's help, the navigation was smoother, the quantum calculations more precise. But it still hurt. Hana felt her consciousness stretching across centuries, felt her neural pathways burning with the strain of perceiving time itself. "Stay with me," Salmon's voice urged. "We are halfway there. You can do this." Hana focused everything she had on the navigation. Each micro-adjustment, each course correction. She was not going to die. Not when she had so much to share with her species. Not when she carried the knowledge that would change humanity's future. The Wanderer burst back into normal space-time with a shock that threw Hana against her restraints. Alarms blared. Systems failed. But she was alive. Through the viewport, she saw a sight more beautiful than anything in the future. Earth, blue and green and perfect. Home. "We made it," she whispered. "We made it." Salmon confirmed. "Welcome back to 2289. Pioneer, Hana Park." Hana opened a communication channel to Earth. Within seconds, she heard Jiho's voice, frantic with worry and hope. "Hana, is that really you? We got your transmission. We thought. We feared." "I am home, Jiho," Hana said, smiling through tears. "And I have so much to tell you, so much to share. The galaxy is waiting for us. The galaxy is ready to meet humanity." She looked at the data crystal Velthon had given her, containing carefully selected, archive knowledge. Knowledge that would save lives. Knowledge that would guide humanity toward the stars. In the future, she had left behind, the Archive Council was updating her classification one final time. Where once it had read, Temporal Anomaly, Omega-level threat, it now read, something different. First Pioneer, Human Classification. Status: Active. Impact on Galactic Civilization. Ongoing. And in smaller text, a note added by Velthon personally. The door to the future remains open. What walks through it next will determine whether we evolve or stagnate. Humanity has shown us we stopped asking the important questions. Perhaps it is time we started asking again. Hana guided her damaged ship toward Earth, toward home, toward a future that was now filled with possibilities that had not existed before. Behind her, 500 years hence, Velthon watched the temporal readings confirm that the timeline had stabilized. The human had made it home. The gambit had succeeded. And somewhere in between those two moments, in the space between present and future, the galaxy held its breath and waited to see what humanity would do next.